Probably one of the worst cheating stories ever. I feel in nothing. I'm numb. I decided to finally get this off my chest, even though this happened fairly. I'm a stay-at-home mom, or at least I was. I had my first child with my partner, a beautiful baby boy, back in May of this year. The new addition to our little family, including his daughter from a previous relationship that I took care of as my own and refers to me as Mommy. I was so excited to have a family of my own. I have worked most of my life, including my entire pregnancy, so being a stay-at-home mom was very new to me. In the beginning, it was extremely challenging, but eventually I got the hang of it. My partner would handle majority of the bills and expenses while I take care of the kids, housework, dinner, and make his lunches for work. My partner worked overnight shifts, so on top of taking care of the children, I was in charge of waking him up for work, which wasn't an easy task at all. Much like a child, he'd throw fits and yell as I attempt to wake him alarm after alarm, all the while I cooked dinner and get the kids ready for bed. Eventually, he'd wake up, but not let it be too late, because then it'd be my fault. I will say my partner was mostly faithful, with some slip-up where I'd catch text of him flirting with coworkers or old flings. And we had one big cheating incident a few weeks before I went into labor. Why I stayed, I don't know. Helplessness? Wanting a family of my own like I never had? I don't know. Maybe. After the birth of my son, things seemed to be getting better. My partner worked hard and was promoted twice in less than a year, bringing in more money to our household and boosting his ego. I continued to do my part: cook, clean, make his lunch, and wake him for work. One night I'm doing my usual routine cooking, making his lunch, and then I wake him for work. But this time something felt off. My intuition was telling me something. I tried to fight these thoughts, but I just couldn't. That night after he left for work, I went for my usual run after I put the kids to bed, having my sister look after them. I'd run through our apartment complex and to a trail not too far. Shockingly, while on my run, I saw my partner's car parked at a different part of our complex, and my heart sunk into my chest. Why was he here? He said he was going to work. I checked my phone, and lo, and behold, his location was turned off. Funny enough, we only shared locations as his idea to prove his loyalty to me. He comes home earlier than usual the next day. I act clueless. I don't know what to think. He comes in bearing gifts, but I could hardly make eye contact because my mind is racing with suspicion. As he showers like clockwork, I check his phone. To my surprise, I see text messages between him and a young lady who lives in the same apartment building as us. He's telling her how he's on his way to her to give her vitamin D. They just met the day before. My heart sinks. He had me wake him up, make him lunch, and look me in my eyes, and said he was leaving for work. This was the ultimate betrayal. How could he do this? I hear the water stop. I quickly jump and put the phone back where I found it. This is where I go completely numb. He hops out the shower talking to me normally. I act oblivious and ask him about work. He says it was any easy night. I bet it was. Another day passes. It's time for him to go to work again. This time I check his phone before because I had that same feeling again. And like last time, he was pretending again. So I played along. I made his lunch extra special this time. I seasoned every dish with as much Morton salt as I could. I filled his fancy flask with dishwater. I made his sandwiches that he loved so much with spit and old fish grease. I kissed him goodbye and told him I loved him with so much excitement. Later that night, when I went on my run and saw his car parked once again in the same spot, I've lost it. I went upstairs to our apartment and grabbed every messy condiment I could find, and I decorated his car. I filled it with the trash he'd been neglecting to take out. Dirty Pampers, rotten tissue, waste, etc. I blacked out. I couldn't wait for him to see the mess I made. It could be worse. This is the beginning of when you break a person. I'm 33 and wife is 36. I'm going to try and condense it as much as possible. I noticed over the summer my wife was extremely stressed from her job. She recently was promoted and had taken on way more responsibilities at work. Understandably, I didn't take things too personally when she would come home stressed or wake up in a grumpy mood. I didn't mind her venting to me and hearing her out and trying to be as supporting as I could. Additionally, she worked graveyard shifts, so her sleep was always never enough, plus picking up hours to help her boss out. We got into some pretty harsh fights at a few points during that time span in which she was the instigator. I honestly couldn't understand why she was blowing up on me and just chalked it up to stress and just estrogen. This is when I suspect she had started to become acquainted with a coworker of hers. Come October, my wife is now working nonstop and I notice she's putting way more effort into her appearance before going into work. I took note but just figured she was changing her style to better suit her position. This is when I think she'd had made up her mind to physically cheat with this other guy. Me and her were barely spending any time together, and she just seemed severely disinterested in anything I was doing. She became a lot more withdrawn from me. She used to tell me about everything that was going on at her job, but not anymore. Barely a conversation. She would literally just go to work, come home and sleep and repeat. One night after we came home from touring a potential school for her daughter, we got into another argument. Essentially, she never communicated to me that she was going into work that night, and I was looking forward to spending time together that night. That same night after the argument, I just felt like something was off and straight up asked her if there was anyone else, which she vehemently denied, calling me crazy and ridiculous. Fast forward about a week or two. I picked up an AirTag and taped it under her car. Her behavior got increasingly more disrespectful and erratic, and she started hanging out with these girls against my wishes. Another fight happens and she leaves the house telling me she was calling into work. Lo and behold, she went over some guy's apartment and spent the night. 12 years and 2 kids. Her excuse? She wanted attention. What? She has been apparently talking to him for several months. Claimed she was able to open up to him and confide in him without judgment, which apparently made her decide to want to fuck him. We've done everything, therapy, me pouring my heart out, conversation after conversation. Months later, she is still in communication with him. It's pretty much a done deal with us. I'm legitimately traumatized by the betrayal and deception. It's hard to fathom how someone that you would take a bullet for can just rip your part out like that. So for reference, I started dating this girl. She is short, red, curly hair, freckles, and artistic. She's in school for it, and was 2 grades above me. We met on a Europe trip, though, our school, and on it, we became close, not physically close, because she had FF at the time, and she knew that I would never do that to another man. Well, on the trip, she talks bad about her Beth at the time, how he never does stuff with her, and how he's more into cars than her and stuff. Her bad-mouthing her Beth to a guy she only met a few days before should have been a red flag, but she was so cute. After the trip, we exchanged numbers, and about a week or 2 after we got back, it was my birthday, her and a few friends, and I went to dinner, and I met her Beth, and she was right about him, super standoff and weird, and didn't give her much attention. Later, I learned that he cheated on her twice, and she stayed because of bullcrap reasons, and so I thought she knows what it feels like to be cheated on and can never do it. Fast forward a week or 2. She breaks up with him. Another week goes by, and I asked her out. It goes great, and then 2 years go by. They were good. I did everything I could for her, buy gifts, even when she says not to spend so much money on her. We would go out and do stuff I pay for, and her family loved me, especially her grandparents. I still miss them a lot. I'd help them as much as I could. And she and I would video call all the time. We were intimate, and every one of our friends thought we were the perfect couple. Hell, some of my female friends told me they were jealous of how good I treated her. Did we have fights? Yes, especially when my grandpa died, she wouldn't let me drink with my family in his honor. Also about my sister a lot because they never got along, mostly because she never tried to get along with my family. Well, throughout these 2 years, she was going to a college. Hour and a half away was it hard? Yes, but I thought we made it work. I visited her almost every weekend and spent the night at a friend's house about 30 minutes away from her college. I'd buy her food from the Wendy's online to make sure she eat. But then she got a guy best friend and they were hanging out a lot alone late at night. I told her I didn't feel comfortable with her doing that, but she pouted, cried, and said she feels safe around him, and I trust her completely. Big mistake. Usually I tell people here that I broke up with her because she cheated, but that wasn't the reason. I loved her, and we went on a break, almost no contact after 2 years of constant video calls, good morning text, and everything we called. She was crying, can't talk, and she hangs up. I decided she not happy, and this isn't working. I want her to be happy, so I say call me back and end things with her. We said we would stay friends, but a week later one of our mutual friends, who knows the best friend guy and was talking to him, told me. He said they hooked up when we were still dating. It shattered me physically and emotionally and mentally. I confronted her about it, and she denied it, but it all made sense when I thought about it, with the way she came crawling back and wanting to get back together, and then after I refused her, begging to hook up one last time, and me stupidly agreeing things were different, strange, and then it all made sense why it was different. After I found out, I blocked her on everything and haven't seen her since, but I've heard she's dating someone new, and guess who it is? The best friend. I'm sorry if the post is too long. Can you have them read it? I understand. I just need to get that off my chest because despite all of that, I miss her. I've had many flings, many hookups since then, but they've all been empty. I'm scared to get an emotional relationship again, especially since every time I tried it's been for the wrong reason and with the wrong people and they ended badly.